Preview for the Brooklyn Nets starts right now. We welcome you back inside our studios here in Atlanta. It is our team preview of the Brooklyn Nets over the next 30 minutes. We'll give you 10 points and take you A to Z through the Nets' upcoming season. To help me out, this is our Fratello, Caron Butler along with me, and guys, they are free. The Nets don't have to hear, well, they're probably still going to hear about it, let's be honest, about all the picks and the trades, but now they can, as an organization, there's a fresh look. They can move forward. We can think about the Nets moving forward finally.
Absolutely. That's exactly what they have to look forward to. And I look at this situation with the Nets, correct me if I'm wrong, but trust the process part 2. That's what I'm going to call it. And you're going to see pretty much a lot of similarities to what you've seen in Philadelphia with that organization and with young talent and building and trying to find what direction and the identity of the ball club and the identity of the organization going forward.
If we're being totally honest, as you just mentioned about
we always are being totally honest,
Brett Brown was not expected to win the first couple years. They were filtering through a variety of players. They were trying to let draft picks build up so they eventually could pick good players to help their team long-term down the road. And that's what happened with Sean Marks and Kenny Atkinson, the GM and head coach of the Brooklyn Nets. When that gigantic trade took place back with Boston, it devastated this franchise for years. And as a result, they are now just finally starting to recover. So the process for them has been, let's try and find the gem somewhere. Let's try and steal somebody with a second-round pick that we can develop over the next couple of years. And now, this is the year that we can finally start to put expectations on where we are and where we're going to be in the next year or so.
And, Coach, you know that fan base, and it's a great area, and they want a winner there. They got so excited after this trade it was going to get to that level, and it didn't. Now they can think about it. They're going to have draft picks. The draft is at Barclays Center. They can have draft picks at Barclays Center. So they're going to be excited about that, and they have money to spend. So now it's about showing what kind of a destination, Caron, can you be? Because we've heard Brooklyn mentioned. We had obviously the conversation with Jimmy Butler recently, among others, and you start to hear, well, Brooklyn's a team. It's got money. It's obviously a place where you'd like to see a winner. So now they get to try and present themselves as credible for free agents moving forward.
Absolutely. It's still the Big Apple, the other side of the apple, but it's still the Big Apple. I look at them like the Los Angeles Clippers in Los Angeles, where you have the Lakers, probably the preferred destination for a lot of teams, but then you have the Clippers also where, hey, look, if that don't work, I can still go there. I can still do all these things in that market. So I look at the Brooklyn Nets the same way, and as you mentioned, a lot of young talent, they're developing on the fly. You look at Spencer Dinwiddie in the season that he just had this past season. You got to have key developmental guys in that position to keep these young guys moving at a rapid pace so it can be the carrot to draw a lot of talent there.
They drew some picks and also drew the need for a pronunciation guide. Coach?
Go for it.
I'll take, let me see. I'll take Karokas.
Okay, that works for me. Zanin Musa on the other side. Look, they are clearly moving in international talent. And it's so funny because the game has changed, Coach, because years ago we would sit there and say, well, what guys did over there overseas doesn't matter here anymore. We just saw, obviously, the retirement of one of the greats, a Hall of Famer in Manu Ginobili. You think about Dirk. Now, these could be two of the core guys moving forward for the Nets for all we know.
Yeah, and they're going to have the patience to develop these players as they have started already a year ago with a couple of the young guys that they had, Allen being one of them, who's just a baby, but he showed so much growth last year as a potential big man, versatile offensive and defensive player. But that's what Kenny Atkinson and his staff are all about, developing young people, putting the time in. I wanted to mention this. I thought it was very important. When Sean Marks got there, first thing he had to do was change the culture, how people thought, how you acted in Brooklyn. And I think this is a tremendous statement. Last season, I believe 13 out of their 14 players lived in Brooklyn. And that's unheard of. That's never happened before. They're either in Manhattan, they're in Connecticut, they're in New Jersey. They all bought into living in Brooklyn And that's the beginning, I think, right there.
Yeah, I love that. It's such a great area. And look, there's so much of an international feel in that area. I think they'll embrace these players. You think about Kenny Atkinson. This group, we sit here night after night and we cover so many games. They were outmatched, out-talented many times, but they never were out-efforted or out-prepared. It always seemed like Kenny had this club ready to play.
Really, he really did. He did an excellent job of what you said, developing the young guys on the fly, and his influence was, second to none. Had the guys playing at an unbelievable rate, believing in themselves. Some of the guys even going out there having out-of-body performances at times. So, they're going to have to continue to do this going forward. They have an identity now. They have a wealth of young talent that's headed in the right direction, and, looking forward to the marathon of the season from these guys.
You think about the growth of the players. You got to witness it firsthand. What was it that Kenny Atkinson and his staff did that enabled some of these players like Allen, Dinwiddie, among others, to grow the way they did this past season?
Part of it is giving them the confidence and the green light to go ahead and try these things. There's a certain system that Kenny Atkinson wants to play in. He wants to play up-tempo. He wants to get shots up more quickly. He wants three-pointers to be taken by the team, and he allowed his players to do that. They had so many opportunities at the end of games in those last 3 minutes where they led and just could not hold on at the end. There are two glaring things, I would say, coming into this season: defense and rebounding. They hopefully address, by bringing in Kenneth Faried and then Ed Davis from Portland. Two guys that can rebound and hit that glass for you. So maybe that's the beginning of them correcting some of the problems.
Talking about growth as a franchise, we saw it from one player, a premier player, at least from where he was picked in the draft last year, when you think about the growth that we saw in D'Angelo Russell.
Russell, the handles, and the deuce. Russell, the J. He's got it. Russell takes advantage. Special. There's Russell. Oh, he's feeling it.
In the situation in L.A., let's say it like it is. It was kind of a mess in a lot of different ways, and not because he's not talented. It just didn't fit. How much did you see him more comfortable on the floor when we saw him healthy before and after the injury last year?
I saw him a lot more comfortable, and for numerous reasons, because you had a guy in Spencer Dinwiddie that was playing at an amazing clip. So you had to come back, and it was pressure on you to perform at alarming rate immediately. And when he came back, being pretty much the face of this organization, especially with Lopez gone, he had to perform at a high level and be consistent while doing that after sitting out some time. And he came back and he did exactly that. But going forward, I want to see more. It's a lot of expectations on him as a young quality player, and I think that he will deliver.
Coach, where did he get better last year from what you saw?
Well, there's no question that the microscope is on this young man. He's number 2 pick in the draft back in 2015. And to go along with what you said about Dinwiddie, Nets won 28 games a year ago. 18 of those 28 wins were with Dinwiddie starting, not D'Angelo Russell. So I think when he came back from the injury, he knew how well Dinwiddie was playing. He knew what the fans expected of him, and he stepped up his game. This guy's a big shot maker. He can make shots.
He's a gamer.
Can he help a team win? That's what I'm waiting to see. Can he take that leadership role and bring guys together and get W's on the board? There's no question he's talented. There's no question this guy can knock down shots and with range. But can he get a team to win?
Is it too early to answer the question whether or not he can ever live up to being the face of a franchise when you're a number 2 overall pick? Sometimes we want things now. I think of Victor Oladipo. Look at what he did last year. There were people for a while saying, Caron, that he wasn't going to live up to that pick. He is now. Can we see Russell get there someday?
I hope so, and I think so. You saw that with Victor because he went and joined a budding superstar where he learned all the traits of being consistent and all these things. D'Angelo Russell had one of the greatest players, if not the greatest player ever to grace the stage, in Kobe Bryant. So you was playing up under him. So those things, the seeds that he planted in you, should be, evolving right now and, flourishing. So this is an interesting year for him, and this is go time for D'Angelo Russell.
Let me just mention something that happens over and over again now in our league. And Allen with Brooklyn is another example. 18 years old when he came into the NBA. We have so many of these young players that come in at 18, 19 years old. their maturity level isn't close to what it has to be a successful player in the NBA. They don't understand. They don't get it. They don't know how hard they have to work. How many will come back in years 2 and 3 with their body fat much lower than it is in the first year that they come in? They think they're in good shape, but then they don't understand how to eat properly. And by the time they get done learning from the NBA clubs, they're different players. They've transformed their body. They can do different things.
You talked about Allen. You may have first at home noticed him because of his hair, but you stayed paying attention because of his play. We'll break down his growth. Take a look at the Nets depth chart heading into this season when we come back.
Team preview tonight on NBA TV.
Well, you look at the defense. Where is the defense? You know what's going to help the Nets is having it in the middle. And they got versatile, they got big, and they got Jarrett Allen. And even though a lot of people, as I said, might have noticed him first, Coach, because of his hair, they really took notice of his play. I know you were excited about his potential and the growth last year. What did you see in both?
There was so much that improved with this young man, just his awareness on the court. He came in as I believe, an 18-year-old entering the league. And the more that Kenny Atkinson gave him time and showed him confidence, until he finally worked his way into the starting lineup, which he earned and deserved. And then they worked and worked with him, and every aspect of his game developed to where you really looked at this young man and said, we may have something special here for down the road. Yes, he has to put some weight on. He's going to get stronger naturally, but his shot improved, his offensive moves around the basket, sticking his nose in for rebounds. They were a very poor rebounding team, and he's just now starting to learn how to protect the front of the rim, which in turn will help their defense.
And you see even in those highlights, the motor. He's got that youth, but even with that size, able to run the floor, get up and down with the Nets, which they want to do.
Yeah, I was really impressed with his activity, Coach, on the defensive end starting off with, but most importantly then on the offensive end. Seeing him finish around the basket, left hand, right hand, had some moments where he put a couple guys in some trendy situations, you know, on social media where he was finishing around the basket and dunking like what you just saw right there. So he's a guy that's going to flourish in this system. I think pace is going to really help him. And having some other guys to anchor that defense to protect the paint, special year for this kid.
Coach, we talked about Kenny Atkinson, the things he and his staff want to do. Is he a perfect fit? Why is Jarrett Allen now a nice fit in the middle for this team moving forward?
Earlier in the show, we mentioned the fact that they had to get better on the glass and they had to improve defensively, because when you look at the numbers statistically, they lost so many close games in the fourth quarter, and that comes down to stops very often. If you get a big guy who's active, who can get into rotations, who can block shots, who can get them offensive rebounds to give them second shot opportunities, and as Caron just mentioned, the way he is active and runs the floor, that's just what Kenny Atkinson wants in his system. He looks like a perfect fit.
Yeah, and you look, he's so young. So all of the mistakes and the things that he learned from last year, how much do you remember from a young player, year one to year two? What kind of things are now a little bit easier, more comfortable for Allen than they were the first time around?
Well, I think it's taught lessons, by trial and error. You're out there, you're physically out there making the mistakes on the fly, learning on the fly, and then you're watching film, you're getting educated in the film sessions. So now you go into an off season where you worked on all the little mishaps of your game, you tweak some things, and then you come out, same coach, same style of play. A lot of the play is dictated on how you play. Around you, the system is going to flow off of you. So that's a huge plus. I think it's going to be a big year for him.
There are a lot of different pieces you like from what you saw from the Nets last year. Moving into this one, as you look at the depth chart, and Coach, obviously you got to start with Spencer Dinwiddie. As you said, a lot of their wins last year of the 28-18, right? Directly associated to him being in that starting lineup.
Dinwiddie was more than just a surprise, okay? He wound up leading that team and getting 18 of those wins as a starter out of their 28. But the name up there that really jumps out right now as far as this training camp and what's gone on, Caris LeVert has been simply outstanding. Every player is talking about him. His development now is rounding out of his game, where now he's not only a catch-and-shoot guy or fast break finish with dunks. Now he puts it on the floor, has peripheral vision, makes his teammates better, can stop, elevate off the dribble, shoot, and make jump shots on a regular basis. He's gotten stronger. His footwork is so much better now. And he credits watching Kyrie Irving's workouts for his improvement. over the summer.
You know, it's interesting because you talk about the scoring of the backcourt. LeVert, his ability to score the basketball, and Dinwiddie. What I love was the big shot making. It was amazing how many times in those wins he was responsible for the big shots they had down the stretch of games.
Yeah, he's a guy that's ready for the moment. You know, I seen him this offseason in the summer working on his craft, working on his left hand, working on his right hand, getting into the seams of the defense, facilitating for guys. I've seen it on numerous occasions where he's attacking the game in a different way every time he play pickup basketball. And then you got guys like Ed Davis that's coming from Portland, Shabazz Napier that's coming, that's going to add depth to that backcourt. So it's going to be a good year for those guys, and just I'm looking forward to this, the expectations of Spencer Dinwiddie in specific.
You mentioned expectations. When you have a big contract and what some might say is bigger than your performance, we always talk about what you don't do, not what you do. And Alan Crabb had that situation, not only for the team he was on, but then contract gets moved to Brooklyn. Same thing. Can he get up to those expectations? Forgetting the money for a second, what did you see from Crabb that you liked last year, Coach?
I saw a little bit more of the shot making I was hoping for. I can't say that I'm convinced now that this guy is a great shooter all the time on a regular basis, like Kyle Korver. Let me use him as an example. But this guy did improve, did show me that he can have nights where he's going to have big games because of his shot-making ability. They brought him in to surround that three-point line, something that they want to play to and need guys, obviously, that can make those shots. I think we'll continue to see him grow more this season. He'll be a little bit more comfortable. Remember, they went after him, didn't get him at first.
That's right.
And then went back and got him second time around. So they obviously really like Crabb. And I expect a better year this year than last year. He was okay last year. I'd like him to be better than okay.
You think about the guards and their ability to get to the basket, Allen underneath, having a shooter like Crabb obviously going to benefit the offense.
Yeah, it's going to open up a lot of real estate, you know, and that's exactly what you want. You need not just shot takers, but shot makers. And Crabb possessed that ability, which Coach just touched on. He's making shots at an amazing clip. You saw little glimpses of that this past season, and you want him to continue to build on that. And that's going to give the real estate necessarily for those big guys, Carroll to slash and do the things that he's accustomed to being accustomed to. And you're going to see the bigs like Ed Davis, Fareed live at the rim, finishing with the strong twos.
Yeah, you mentioned strong. You think about Davis, you think about Fareed, and what Carroll added to that team. They have that veteran grit that you'd like to have, right, Coach, if you're Kenny Atkinson around some of these younger players?
Well, just Kenny alone instills that into the players on his team. And he's not afraid to, after the game in the locker room, to say the things that need to be said, particularly if he doesn't think that they're as aggressive and as tough-minded as they need to be. He gets his message across the right way.
And for Carroll, obviously, from a veteran standpoint, you could tell the impact he had just from the guys being around him last year.
Yeah, he wants to play, he wants to win, he wants to play the right way, and the young guys need that voice. They need a guy that's been through some wars and some battles and that understand the game and, you know, how to be consistent. And I think he possessed all those things.
All right, we know the East doesn't possess this LeBron. He's out. So everybody thinks it's wide open, but how much has it opened? The door perhaps for the Brooklyn Nets. We'll have the starters help us out. Just how high are the hopes for this Brooklyn team this coming season? We know Jarrett Allen doesn't need one, but he's giving them out some back-to-school haircuts. But let's cut to the chase. True or false, starters, the Nets can make the playoffs.
Skeets and Lee of the starters here with your next point about the Brooklyn Nets, and it's a true or false question, Lily. True or false, the Nets will make the playoffs this season?
False, but I think they're probably going to be in the hunt for a lot of the season, because if you look at what Kenny Atkinson has done with this team over the last couple of years, and also General Manager Sean Marks, they've got a lot of players in who are trying to prove something.
Yep.
Guys like D'Angelo Russell, now Kenneth Fareed comes over as well, and he's the sort of player who was a star early on. His career kind of declined a little bit, but now he gets an opportunity to play. So you know these guys are going to play hard, they're going to work hard. But I think really if you look at what Sean Marks is trying to do, he's building towards next summer when they're looking at perhaps having a max salary slot open and trying to attract a free agent. So I don't think the Nets are quite there yet, but I think they'll be a very competitive team.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think they're going to be in the mix, which is you can't usually say about the Brooklyn Nets, so that's good. But why would they really even want to make the playoffs in the 1 year where they're going to have their own draft pick and another one. So like this is finally they're like free. We have a draft pick. So it'd almost be weird in a way if they sneak in to the Eastern Conference playoffs. But they will be there, I agree with you, in March, because there are a bunch of guys trying to prove stuff. They've built a culture there that's gotten better. Spencer Dinwiddie took a little step up last season. So I'm with you in the mix, but not quite getting in.
No, you can see the direction of where this team is going. And that's the thing that we haven't seen from Brooklyn, as you mentioned, for quite a few years. They're not going to know what to do at the draft next year when they actually get a choice of their own. So I think it's going to be a good season, not quite play. In the Eastern Conference, you can always kind of sneak in sometimes accidentally. That might be them, but I don't think they will make it.
All right, that's where we stand on the Brooklyn Nets. Let's hear from you guys. Do you think the Nets make the playoffs? Let us know on Twitter at #TheStarters.
Thank you, guys. When we come back, we'll play a little more or less. Competitive, yes, but how much so? Put a bow on this preview for the Nets next. The struggle has been real for the Brooklyn Nets. Haven't made the playoffs since 15. You look at the last 3. Or less, we can get some more. 32 wins, the number, coach, we're giving you. More or less for the Brooklyn Nets.
When I saw
32.
2015 playoffs, I was saying, wow, it's not that long ago, but that was KG, Paul Pierce, Joe Johnson with that group that made it into the playoffs. Here's what I'm thinking. They lost so many close games last year, and they had 28 wins. If they win half of those close ones, there's 4 more wins on top of it. So I'm going to say yes, that they will be above the number.
Above 32.
Yep.
Okay.
I will have to agree with you. We're on the same page a lot today. I got them over 32 also. I think they're going to be a lot better just because a lot of other teams in the Eastern Conference is going to be a lot worse. So with that being said, I got them at 33 wins.
And LeBron's gone.
Yeah. LeBron got a lot to do with a lot of things that we're talking about, East and West.
Playoffs, yes or no? Playoffs?
No.
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 You're reaching now, bro.
Well, it's not
Playoffs.
me reaching.
Playoffs?
Playoffs?
Playoffs.
So no playoffs.
No playoffs.
Okay.
Pump the brakes on that.
But
no
they have
playoffs.
picks in Barclays.
And we'll have space.
And they'll have some
For a Max
space.
guy.
Yes, for a Max guy. Not a guy named Max. We'll see you next time, our preview shows. Good luck to the Nets this coming season.
Yo, how'd John B get up there?